Pathfinders. Welcome to Pathfinder Connect. Today we'll be looking at the Orienteering honor. My name is David from the Lower Mfolozi district of the KwaZulu-Natal Free State Conference. I will be your teacher today. Orienteering honor. What is Orienteering honor? Orienteering honor basically means how to use your maps together with your compass, your GPS compass. As you can see on the honor patch, it says it has a coordinate of northwest, east and south on it. So let's get into details of this honor. Before we do so, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Thank you. First question that we encounter is topographic map. Topographic maps are also commonly called contour maps or topo maps. Topographic maps conventionally shows topography or a land contours by means of contour lines. Someone may ask, what are contour lines? Let's look into what contour lines are. It says contour lines are curves that connect contiguous points of the same altitude. In other words, every point on the marked lines of 100-meter elevation means it's 100 meters above sea level. Other than showing elevations via the contours, you can also expect a topographic map to show any important landmarks such as rivers, lakes, and roads. They will often also show railway tracks and major power lines and their towers. All right. So let's look at an example of a topographic map. In front of us here is a topographic map of KwaZulu-Natal, which is a province or a region within South Africa for our international viewers or our international subscribers. This is KwaZulu-Natal, which is a part of South Africa. Now, the map in front of us is a topographic map that shows all the major rivers and waterlands of KwaZulu-Natal, all the waterlands in KwaZulu-Natal. So we have the Black Mfolozi River, we have the White Mfolozi, and so on and so forth. All right, so this is a typical example of a topographic map. Topographic maps have many uses, letting a competent user determine any of the following. Please pay attention to this part that says a competent user. You may have a map in front of you, but that doesn't mean you know how to use it. All right, so a competent user, when he or she has a map in front of them, they know that it helps them to find where he or she is. It also helps to get where he wants to go. It helps the competent user to get to where he wants to go. What the terrain is like in the area he or she wants to go. What the terrain is like. Because sometimes you find yourself looking at a place from a very far position and you think it's a solid ground, only to find out when you get there it's a swamp. It's a swamp or it's sinking sand. You see, so a topographic map typically helps a competent user to know the terrain he or she is at. Where a river comes from and goes to. Where a river comes from and goes to. There was a time where a question was placed to go to the Nile River, does it flow up or flows down? So people always find themselves getting lost whether the river is flowing up or down. They just see a river flowing and they assume that the fact that the river is flowing and gravity is in play, the river is flowing south. But sometimes you find that that's not the case. All right. The route a hiking trail follows. With a topographic map, you'll be able to navigate your way on a hiking trail. The location of campsite. The location of campsites. We find our leaders sometimes getting things wrong, not knowing which campsite to take pathfinders to, how the campsite looks like. A topographic map can also help you with that. The distance between 2 points. The distance between 2 points. How far am I moving from point A to point B? How far is the distance? The elevation of mountain top. Elevations of mountain top. People want to know how high Mount Kilimanjaro is. Others want to know how high Afajato is, to differentiate between the two and see which one is the tallest and all of that. So a topographic map can help with that. Latitude and longitude of any point on a map. Latitude and longitude of any point on a map. What areas may be susceptible to avalanche or flooding? For those of us who are in KZN, we know that KwaZulu-Natal is prone to flooding. KwaZulu-Natal is prone to flooding, especially those who are on the coastal areas like Richards Bay, Durban. You find out that around April, around the month of April, there's heavy rain, and that leads to severe flooding. If you are in around places like Gauteng, if you're in around places like Gauteng, you get to know that it's a very hot area, and sometimes you find some bits and pieces of earthquake happening there. So a topographic map can also help with that. Now, let's look at how good we are identifying signs on a topographic map. How good are we identifying signs? So here I'm going to put out 20 signs one by one. Let's see how many you will get right. I will let each sign stay for 5 seconds. Let's see if you'll be able to name it before I put the name under it. Here we go. Let's start. Do we know what this sign is? If you know it, write it down, and let's see how many you will get at the end of the 20. Here we have an airport. So when you see a sign on a map like this, it tells you that there's an airport in that area. What about this one? I find my kids being challenged about this. I remember one child said it's a hill climb, but I don't know how a car with only one wheel or one set of wheels is going to climb a hill. But yeah, the child said it's a hill climb. Let's see if he was correct. No, this is a boat launch. When you see this, normally you find this around lakes, rivers, and the sea. That there is a place where you can actually take your boat to and launch it onto the sea, or pick it up from the sea. Okay, what about this one? What about this one? Is it a triangle? Does this show that it is a broken car ahead? No, this shows that there's a campground, a place where you can pitch your tent and camp, or you can park your caravan and camp there. What about this one? Is this person swimming? No, this person is actually doing a canoe. He's canoeing, this guy. This guy is canoeing. So if you are actually looking for a place to do canoeing on, look at the topographic map and look for this sign. It tells you that you can actually canoe on that area. Okay, what about this one? Are we thirsty? Are we thirsty? Yes, we are, because we've been talking a lot. And this is drinking water. At some campsites, you will find these signs there, because not all the waters there are drinkable. Some waters are only good for bathing. Some waters are just good for cleaning things, like washing your shoes, washing your tent before you leave the campsite. But as soon as you see the sign, that means that water is drinkable. Oh, what about this one? Is this the flag of Switzerland? Is this the flag of Switzerland? Maybe it is, and it's been turned black and white. Actually, this says first aid. This says first aid. It's not hospital, it is first aid. So if you are at a place and you see the sign, that means in case you are injured, please come this side for a first aid. For a first aid. All right. Let's look at this one. The fish and the hook. This is simple. It says you have what? A fishing access. It's an area for fishing. It's an area for fishing. What about this one? What about this one? Can we get this one correct? Let's see. Let's see if you're getting it correct. Okay, that one was food service. If that one was food service, then which one is this? I see a very nice Jeep, Willys Jeep, World War II kind of vehicle. Okay, when you see this, this says that it is an area for four-wheel drive cars. Four-wheel drive cars. So please, whenever you are in a game reserve and you see this sign, please don't take your small car there and expect to drive smoothly and easily. You will get stuck. As soon as you see this, that means you should be looking for cars that have 4x4 access or 4x4 capabilities, like Willys Jeep, like Toyota Land Cruiser, Land Rover, and so on and so forth. All right, let's look at the next one. This is simple. As you see this sign, it is what? Gas station, or for those of us who are in the other part of the world, it is a filling station, or if you're in South Africa, it's commonly known as the garage. Commonly known as the garage if you are in South Africa. Okay, now what about this one? The first one we said is first aid. That means this one is hospital. That means this one is hospital. All right. Now, what about this one? What about this one? This one means it's the only place where you can litter. It's the only place where you can litter. Normally, this is found in a place where you find your garbage or your big dustbins. All right, so it tells you that you can actually litter in this area. We have 12 down. Let's see the remaining. Let's look at the remaining. What about this one? What is this one? What does this one mean? This one simply means a lodging. A lodging. Now the next one, it looks a bit of how do I put this? As soon as I put it up there in my mind, I see some sort of an ancient design, some Chinese writing. I don't know if I'm correct, but let's see what it means. This basically means a picnic area. Oh, now I see a picnic area. So in this area, there is the bench and a bench for you to sit on, and this is the table. And this is the table. Now it makes sense. This is the picnic area. Let's look at the next one. The next one is simply a parking area. This is a parking area. Sometimes you find this same sign and then you find a line cutting across the P. Cutting across the P, and that becomes a what? That tells you that you cannot park there. All right. The next one is what we call the ranger station. The ranger station. If you are in a game reserve and you find that you are lost, look for this type of signs. It tells you that the game rangers, they have an office nearby in that area. Look on your map, you will see that there is a ranger station there. Now, what about the next one? This is simple. We say reduce, reuse, and recycle. And recycle. So when you see this, that means everything that you throw in that dustbin should be things that are recyclable. Don't throw things that cannot be recycled inside that dustbin. This is also simple. It's simple as the male and female restrooms. Male and female restrooms. Okay, now let's look at this one. Now, I have a very funny story concerning these two signs. There was a time where we went for camping and we decided to hike. On the hiking, we failed to look at the signs at the hiking spot. These two signs, that's what I mean. We failed to look at the sign. So basically, the first one says trail ahead. It says trail ahead or trailhead. What does that one mean? That one simply means it's a hiking trail that a tour guide is there to guide you on the trail. The second one is self-guiding trail. Self-guiding trail, that means you should be able to get a map of the hiking trail because there will be no one there to help you access the trail. You should be able to navigate yourself. So normally when you see this sign by the entrance of a game reserve or by the entrance of a hiking trail, you should pause and look for the map before you continue. Else, you will find yourself lost and there will be no one to help you. The next one, if you are in South Africa, you might mistaken this one for something else. You might mistaken that for what we call the bus stop. But this is not a bus stop. This is simply a shelter. This is simply a shelter. It can be a place of rest. It can be a place of rest, or it can be a place to sleep, basically. So that is the shelter. Okay. The milk and apple is as simple as the store. As simple as the store. Normally you find this around farm stores or you find this around other stores. But your big supermarket will not have this sign. Remember, you are looking on the map for things to help you whenever you are on a camp out or when you are planning to be on a journey to a place. Okay. Now let's look at nomenclature of an orienteering compass. What do you mean by nomenclature? A nomenclature is basically means a design or the diagram of an orienteering compass. An orienteering compass. So when you look at this diagram in front of you, first you have the cover of the compass. You have the cover of the compass, and the cover of the compass mostly house the sighting wire. It mostly sights the sighting wire, and it also has the sighting dot. It also has the sighting dot which illuminates, all right, which illuminates sometimes. And then you have the base. You have the base which always house the graduated straight edge. It has the graduated straight edge, and it houses what we call the short lines or the fixed index lines. And it also has the magnetic arrow. It also has the magnetic arrow. So inside the base is where you are going to have your cardinal point, which is your north, south, east, and west. And then you are going to have all your degrees, which is your from 0 degrees to 360 degrees. You're going to have it inside the base. And then we have the lens. We have the lens. So the lens is basically where you actually sight. You actually look through. Normally the lens is like a magnifying glass normally, because it helps you look at everything at the same time. So it's like normally they put something like a magnifying glass. So that is the lens. All right, so now we have a basic understanding or a basic diagram of what orienteering compass looks like. Okay, now let's look at some of these parts. The cover, as we said, the cover of the compass protects the floating dial. It contains the sighting wire, as we said. What about the base? The base has the flowing part. It has the floating It has the floating dial, and it's also, as we said, has the arrow that is always pointing to magnetic north, and the letters fall at least 90 degrees east, and west is 270 degrees. All right. Encasing the floating dial is a glass containing a fixed black index line. A fixed black index line, we will get into details what that index line is for. All right, so inside it you have it also contains 120 clicks when rotated fully. All right, 120 clicks when rotated fully. The thumb loop is attached to the base of the compass. The thumb loop is basically where the compass is supposed to rest, because with your thumb you are able to hold it and in a fixed position. Okay, now let's look at the lens. The lens is used to read the dial. As I said earlier, that the lens is like a magnifying glass. It helps you to actually view everything that is on the compass. Okay, now let's know the meaning of the following terms. Let's know the meaning of the following terms, because when you are reading your map, when you are using your compass, these terms comes in play. All right. What is an elevation? Elevation is simply the height of a point in relation to the sea level. The height of a point in relation to the sea level. So you'll find that airports are most airports are built on sea level. But in some cases, you find out that the airports are built on a mountain top, like Gibraltar Airport. So you have to know the elevation. Pilots have to know their elevation of how high they are relative to the ground. Okay. Contour interval. The elevation change between adjacent contour lines on a topographic map. If you travel from one contour line to another, your change in elevation will equal to contour interval. Your change in elevation will equate to contour interval. So for example, if you are on top of a mountain and you come down to the valley, you have changed your elevation. That means your contour interval has changed from that mountain top to the valley. All right. Magnetic north. Magnetic north is the direction a compass will point, which is towards the north magnetic pole. The north magnetic pole is not the same as the geographic North Pole. The North Magnetic Pole is the point on the Earth's surface. The magnetic pole is the point on the Earth's surface. Alright, where the Earth's magnetic field points directly towards. In 2005, the people who were looking for the pole found the pole to be at 82.7 degrees north and 114.4 degrees west. That was 2005. Right now, if you try to find it, it might change. It might change because of what the magnetic field that is changing on the earth. All right. Declination. What is declination? It is how far off a compass is from true north. How far a compass is off from a true north, or the correction that must be applied to a compass reading. Sometimes you find out that your compass is a bit off on a true north, especially for those of you who are using magnetic north compass. If you have a true north map, that means you are a bit off. So you have to find a declination between your compass and the map so you have better reading. A scale. An important property of a map is the scale. It can be indicated by a scale bar and or a ratio 1:n. This enables the map user to measure a distance on the map and determine the distance on the ground. What does this mean? It's simple. If you have a map and the map says the map is on a ratio of 1:10, if the map says it's on a ratio of 1:10, that means if they say that from point A to point B is 10 meters, that means you have to take 10 meters and multiply by 10, as the map says is on a scale of 1:10, which means the 10 meters that the map is telling you that is the distance from point A to point B actually becomes 10 by 10, which is 100 meters. I hope that makes sense. So 1:n is basically the number or the distance you have on the map multiplied by the n or the number given as n. So n can be any number that is given on the map as the scale suggests. All right. Measuring. The act of determining distance on a map and converting it to distance on the ground. In order to do this translation, you must know the map's scale. As we said earlier, the map scale comes into play when you have to do measuring. All right, true north. What is a true north? The difference between true north and magnetic north. Let's see. True north is the direction from any point on the Earth's surface to the geographic North Pole. So, if you look at the Earth's surface, where your compass is telling you, okay, here is north, and then you look at your geographic North Pole, then you have your what? Your true north from the Earth's surface. Okay, now let's look at azimuth. What is azimuth? The azimuth is a compass bearing expressed in degrees. There are 360 degrees in a circle. The north is by conversion of 0 or 360. East is 90, south is 180, and west is 270. So azimuth is as you move from the top or north of your compass going towards east, south, west, and back to north. That is what we call azimuth. Some people will say clockwise. The common term is clockwise. All right. Now let's look at back azimuth, which is basically the opposite of clockwise. That becomes anti-clockwise. So if you are going according to azimuth, you move from 0 to 90 to 180 to 270 back to 0 again, which is 360. But if you are doing back azimuth, that is from 0 you go to 270 to 180 to 90 to back to 0 again. That is back azimuth. So that means anti-clockwise. Okay, now let's look at distance. Distance is the measure of length. It's as simple as that. It is the measure of what? Length. From point A to point B is a distance. So the length or the distance from point A to point B is what we are talking about here. Ground forms the surface of the earth, the outer crust of the globe, or some indefinite portion of it. That is ground forms. So when you walk along the beach, you are walking along the ground form. You are walking along the ground form. Now, let's see how to shoot a magnetic azimuth. How to shoot a magnetic azimuth. So here we have our compass in our hands. We have our compass in our hands. Please pay attention to how the compass is held. How the compass is held. As you can see, somewhere down here, you have the thumb holder or the thumb ring where you have to put your thumb inside. And then with your two pointing fingers, you hold by the side. With your two pointing fingers, you hold by the side of the compass, as you can see on this part of the diagram. And then here is the lens that is sticking up where the user of the compass will be looking through. So here is the base. Here is the base that houses the azimuth or house the coordinates, and here is the cover that has the shooting wire, which is right here, the shooting wire. Okay. Now to shoot it, the user will have to raise up the cover into a 90-degree position, as you can see here, 90-degree position with the lens, a little bit like it's coming to close or it's coming to cover the coordinates, and then look through here and then look at, so when you look at the lens, when you look through the lens, you are basically looking at the coordinates at the same time looking at the shooting wire. All right. So you have the centerfold technique, and this is also called the compass to cheek technique. All right. Now, let's demonstrate how to match on a magnetic azimuth. How to match on a magnetic azimuth. It says hold the compass level in the palm of the hand. Rotate it until the desired azimuth falls under the fixed black index line. For example, 320 degrees, maintaining the azimuth as prescribed. Turn the bezel ring until the luminous line is aligned with the north seeking arrow. Once the alignment is attained or obtained, the compass is preset. To follow the azimuth, assume the centerfold technique and turn your body until the north seeking arrow is aligned with the luminous line. Then proceed forward in the direction of the front canvas sighting wire, which is aligned with a fixed black index line that contains the desired azimuth. So basically, this is what we're talking about. Here we have the fixed line. This fixed line does not move. If you have a compass on your phone, you can see that, especially those who have iPhone, you will see there's a line that is there. No matter what you do, it does not move. Sometimes it's white, sometimes it's red, sometimes it's black. I think it depends on the background of your compass if you are using a phone. It depends on the, sorry for, my hand is busy touching the mouse. So yeah. Okay. So you have the fixed black index line which does not move. All right. The fixed black which does not move. Here is the arrow that is telling you the magnetic position. Here is the magnetic arrow that is telling you the magnetic position, and that is the floating dial. This whole part here floats. And that is the floating dial of it. All right. And this is the shooting line. As you can see here, there's a small line which is a bit thicker than the rest of the lines. That is the shooting line. So when you have your compass, you have to also find a fixed item on your map. Please, a map will never give you things that will move like a car. If your map has a diagram of a car on it, that map is actually misleading because a car can be moved. So normally, your map will have things like trees, rivers, or mountain tops. So for example, if it has a mountain top like this one does, then you have to aim at the mountain top and then look at your map and say, okay, I'm standing here facing this mountain top. Now, let me shoot my magnetic azimuth. Okay, now for practicals, it says, prove your ability in the use of a map and or a compass by following a 1 mile, which is 1.6 kilometer cross-country course with at least 5 given readings on or control points. What does this mean? As if you are watching or if you are learning this honor and you are a leader, you are a director or you are an instructor of a club, please, you must be able to organize a hiking for the Pathfinders. On that hiking, they will have to use their compass to locate at least 5 given readings, or to do 5 given readings that will help them navigate their way through the the hiking process. Okay, thank you very much for watching this presentation. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I am David Poku. My master guide number is master guide number 100 from the KwaZulu-Natal Free State Conference, which is within the Southern African Indian Division. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.